Now in this lesson, we're going to work with the objects that you'll find inside of your domain inside of Active Directory. So we're going to look at some of the container objects like organizational units, tell you what they do for you, and give you some ideas of best practices of how to put them together, whether you do it by the business function or geography or however you want to organize the actual containers of objects that would contain things like users and groups. So we're going to talk about how to create organizational units, and then within those OUs we're going to talk about how you can create user objects and group objects, and that's your basic foundation for everything we do inside of our domains. So if you got a new user or a new security group, and we'll talk about why it's called a security group, and we're going to put that together and show you, as I said before, ways in which you can organize for administrative purposes the different objects inside of your domain.
All right, we are going to take a tour of Active Directory. Now remember, we talked a bit about creating objects, and that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to have fun creating objects here and there with no actual planning purpose other than just to talk about some of the options we have. We'll do a little more planning as we get into each of the parts in the future chapters. I'm going to start by going to the Active Directory users and computers. Those are the only objects I'm going to worry about right now, are the security principles that we make and the containers they're in. I'm going to maximize the screen, move this bar over a little to the right just to have a little more room. And you can see the built-in stuff that we have right here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about adding to this domain contoso.com. Now we have two domain controllers, so anything I do should end up getting replicated fairly quickly to the other ones. And the other one, of course, being a server core, so we're not going to go pop over there and take a look at its handiwork with its GUIs, since it doesn't have any. What I'm going to do, though, is in this domain, contoso.com, I'm going to right-click it, go to New, and we're going to create a new organizational unit. And we're just going to call it People. That's easy. Kind of lets me know what it is. Now look at this option. Didn't have this before. Protect container from accidental deletion. That's a good idea, because what it's going to do is make sure that it can't just accidentally get killed and all of the people inside of it, all of the users and computers inside of there would go away. Now I'll click OK. That's it. I've made an organizational unit. Alright, so that wasn't too exciting. Let's right click it and go to its properties. And now, at least in its properties, I have a chance to do some other stuff, like type in non-administrative user identities. That's what we call them, identities. I like calling them objects. If I wanted to, I could put the address, if that was appropriate, of the people that are in here, so say administratively in office. And of course, as we talked about before, I can start delegating control to new users with the managed by. But I haven't made any new users yet. I have just the administrator account, so I'll just click OK. Now that I've got that done, we're going to talk about creating some user accounts. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create some users, and I'm going to make them in their default container, a few of them, show you how to move them around. Then I'll start showing you some of the other things we have to make sure we don't do, some of the issues that could cause conflicts with user accounts. It's just kind of a cool thing to look at. So remember, I've got a class container of users, and I have this one organizational unit of people. I'm going to go over to my users container, the default location of any new user you create. I'm going to right click it and go to new user. And I'm going to be a little vain and name this user after me. So there I've Ken Mayer is the name. The full name is Ken Mayer. Logon will be ken.mayer@contoso.com. Click next. I have to have a complex password, so bear with me as I type in my complex password. I, of course, always tell you, make the users change their passwords at the next login. You don't want to be responsible for knowing those passwords. But if I was making a service account, then I'd probably say, you know what, password never expires. User can't change it, because I don't want SQL Server changing its password. Somebody else is going to have to go out about doing that. So I'll leave it here as a regular user account. Click next. It's just verifying what it is you're creating. I'll click on finish, and I've got a new user. Now that I've said that, let's go make a user in the people OU. In the people OU, I'll right click it, choose new user, and it will be Ken Mayer. And hey, look at this, it's going to be ken.mayer@contoso.com. So hey, now that's a conflict. Didn't I just make a user account that way? The answer is yes, I did. But what we're going to see is when I click next, it says, hey, can't do it. You've already got that one in there. So even though the user account I'm making is not in this organizational unit, this user login name needs to be unique throughout the entire domain. Notice that my full name is still the same as the other one. So let's just make this one kmayer. Click on next, password. And then I'll click on next. I'll finish that. And I've got that same Ken Mayer. Notice that under the user container, I have a full name of Ken Mayer. Under this one, I have a full name of Ken Mayer. The thing I could not do was make the account name the same. Well, let's find out if I can do that again. So I'm in the same people organizational unit. I'm going to make Ken Mayer. Now we know we have to have a different logon name. So I'm going to make this one just plain old Ken at Contoso. Click next. Doesn't appear to have a conflict. Didn't get yelled at. And now I'm going to click next. It tells me what I'm making. And when I hit finish, look at this. It says the name Ken Mayer is already in use. I got to select another name. Now this name that I'm talking about is different than the account name. Let me back it up. This was the full name. The full name cannot be the same. It's got to have a different full name. So I'll put my middle initial in there. And then if I click next, next, and finish, it's okay. So account names have to be the same, or it has to be unique throughout the whole domain. And these user names, these full names, have to be unique within each container. Just a little side note there for you. All right, now I'm going to right click these users and delete them. Look at that, I'm deleting myself. And it didn't even hurt. I'm going to go back to my users container. I had my Ken Mayer account that I made there. I'm going to just take that user, click and drag it, and move it over to the people. Now it's telling me that if I do this, I may make things happen the way are different than I expect, because obviously I'm going to an organizational unit. It could change group policies and how group policies are applied, and so it's just warning me, do I want to move it? And I'll say yes, I do. All right, so that was just the user accounts and then moving them around. Hopefully you kind of got the idea of what we were doing and how much fun it was. After I make the user, let me go to the people. Then you can right click the user, go to properties, and there you see all of these tabs. The address information, here's the account information, my logon name, the thing that had to be unique to the domain. It has even my pre-Windows 2000 logon name, which is funny in case you do have any Windows 95 or 98, I suppose, out there. A lot of other account options we'll get a chance to talk about. Again, my password policies, but you notice I can even disable accounts, smart card information if I want to. I can even say this account expires here in next month, July 27th, we'll say. So that you get to have 30 days to use this account. Whatever you might want to do. I'll hit cancel. And that's just looking at the properties. Okay, computer accounts. I had mentioned that computer accounts go to this computer container. Now, notice you're thinking to yourself, hey, wait a minute, you are on a computer. You just click computers and yours is not there. Okay, I'm on a domain controller, so I am server 1, and that's why there were no computers. That is a distinction. If I create the computer account, it's not much different. Right-click the container, go to New, Computer, and then I can create a computer name. Again, I can't make a server 02. I would have a conflict. Right? It's still in use even though it doesn't show up as an object. So I can make something else like workstation 01, and that's it. Easy enough. Those accounts can also be moved and put into organizational units. So I can go back to the people OU, and I have a user, I have a workstation, which is great when we get into the group policies of what it takes to put that stuff together. I can right-click my computer account, go to its properties. You can see, you know, the member of, what groups it's a member of. By default, just kind of this general users for the domain. Delegation of control, if I need to do anything with the trusting this one for delegation. Location, this is always helpful to put something in here that makes sense, like building A, floor 1. But as long as you are consistent with this location stuff, then it's useful. Who can manage it? You know, again, all this kind of the same type of thing about delegating. All right, now we're going to go ahead and make some groups. Since I have this people organizational unit, I'm going to right-click and go to New Group. Now here's where we're going to have some discussions about these scopes and types. But in this case, I'm just going to make a group called Finance. Click OK, and it's a group. If I double-click it or right-click and bring it back up, it's properties of, oops, I had multiple items selected, excuse me, Finance Group. Again, I made it a security global group. That means a domain global. Could put in my notes. Here I can go to the Members tab, and I can add members. Now the members, I need to know their names. So I click the Add button, and if I knew the name, I could just type it in. But I don't know exactly maybe the whole name about the user account can. So what's cool is if you hit Check Names, it shows you all of the listing names. In this case, there was only one. So it chose that name for me. I hit Apply, and this group now has one member in it, Ken Mayer. And of course now as I give this group different permissions to different objects, Ken Mayer's account would also have those same permissions, being a member of it. So that was an easy way of adding a user to the group. Again, all I did is right-click this thing, went to Properties, went to the Members, clicked on Add. In this case, I'm going to remove Ken Mayer from the group. But I had clicked on Add to put him in, and then you're done. Now the other thing I could do is right-click the user account, go to Properties, and I can say let's make him a member of. Now I'm already, and everybody is, a member of this special group called Domain Users, but I'll click Add, I'll type in F for Finance, click on Check Names, and there's the only group I have that was called F, so you get in the picture of how easy this little screen is to use. Click OK. Now it says I'm a member of Finance. Well, let me close this down. Let me double-click Finance and go to Members, and there his account is. It came back. So there's two ways of editing your group membership. You do it through the group, or you can do it from the user account. Again, all that matters is that you have the permissions to be able to do that. If you don't, then you would not be successful. You have to have at least the delegated control. Anyway, there's our quick tour. I could create other groups. Remember, the workstation accounts can be members. Your computer accounts can be members of groups as well. If I wanted to add in WO, I didn't have that one in there. Let me go back the other way to the computer account, right-click Properties, and Member of, Add, F for the Finance. So now the computer account is also a member of this group. I know that sounds odd, but there may be times when you need the workstation to be managed with permissions, access to objects or resources that this particular group is able to do. So again, you got some flexibility there, but it's still kind of nice to be able to know that you can intertwine all of these objects together, and that you can do that for whatever administrative or configuration reason you need.